Hello, hello, everyone. Hopefully everyone is all right. I am going to get myself situated here. Well, hello. Hello, user. User with the 60 million and two numbers after it. Okay, how is everyone? All right, so today we're gonna take it up a notch. And I think someone asked me at one point, let me turn this down a little bit so I don't feel like I'm screening. Handy Mandy. All right, so what we're going to do, so we learned a little bit about interval notation. We did a little bit with solving inequalities. So now I'm gonna work on solving those absolute values. So if you do not recall, let me shift this over so you guys can get this, or I can just do that. All right, so you can shift it over. Let me kind of zoom in just a hair. So the one thing that we need to know about absolute values, oops, there we go, is absolute values are always positive, okay? Hello, Fem Artist. I'm so glad you're here. She's like, I'm not missing this one. So absolute values are always positive, okay? So what an absolute value actually is, if I look at a number line, I'm just gonna do a little sketching. See, the cat was asleep, and I had a tutoring session. Now that I wanna do some work, here he comes. Woman. Craziness, all right? So what an absolute value is, it's the distance away from zero. Okay, regardless if you're going in the positive direction or the negative direction, it's how far away you are from zero. So if I wanted to, as you can see for my example, we have the absolute value of -5. So the absolute value of -5, that means I am 5 units away from zero. Although I'm going in the negative directions, I can't physically take negative steps. You can try, but you can't. You can't take -5 steps. So that's why when you look at the absolute value, it's always positive because it's the distance away from zero. So absolute value of +5 is 5 units away from zero. Okay, thank you so much for the love. Hello, Thomas. All right, so when we're doing absolute values, it always goes to a positive distance. Now, if you ever get a negative just starting off before you do any kind of alterations to the equation, if you're in the beginning, you have a negative equal to a negative number, that's not possible. DNE means does not exist, okay? So, like I said, we can't take negative steps. We can take steps away in the positive direction. We can take steps away in the negative direction. But we cannot physically take negative steps, all right? So anytime you see, and this may be helpful for those that are taking any assessments, so to save yourself a whole lot of work, if it equals right from the jump, that if it equals a negative integer, that means right away it does not exist, okay? So hopefully that will save you some time with any kind of assessments that you may encounter, all right? So I'm gonna show you how to solve equations, and if we have time, I might do inequalities, but I really wanna make sure you understand and get the gist of the absolute values, all right? So going to slide over, or I can unzoom, whichever, okay? So we have our first example, the absolute value of 3x plus 4 equals 10. So just like I mentioned early on, slide, The positive and the negatives inside the absolute value both give me the same answer. So when you're solving, you need to have both of them being represented. Okay, is this GED? This is GED, ACCUPLACER, general algebra, algebra 1, basically. You're going to see it all. Okay, so if that sounds like you, you're in the right spot. All right, hi Baron. Thank you so much for the roses. All right, so now we're going to make two equations, or, two equations. The first equation, so I'm going to write a little arrow here. The first equation is you're going to write what you see without the absolute value. So that means we're going to have 3x plus 4 equals 10. Okay, so the first equation you write, hello user. I feel weird saying hello user, but I'm not going to do it the whole numbers. I'm sorry. Okay, so the first equation you're going to write is everything you have without the absolute value. Now, the second equation that I'm going to write, oops, forgot to pull my other pens out. Okay, my second one is going to be what's inside the absolute value. It's going to be equals, but it's going to equal the opposite, which is my negative 10. And you're probably saying, let me unzoom a little bit. And you're probably saying, well, Audrey, didn't you say if it equals a negative, that means it doesn't exist? Pause. If the original, before I do anything, if this started off as a negative 10, boom, it doesn't exist. Don't even bother with it. Just move on. Just say it doesn't exist. Skip to the loo, my darling. All right. Hey, Melody. Hello. All right. So thank you for the follows, guys. I appreciate it. So if you know anyone that is kind of stuck on solving equations of absolute values, or someone's like, oh, you know what? Someone was talking about that before their test, just share the live and just have them join on in. All right. So now what we're going to do next is we're going to solve these two equations, but we're going to solve them separately, one at a time. Don't have to get too crazy, okay? But we're going to solve for x for both of the equations. So let's start with the blue one. The first thing I should do is, since I have 3x plus 4 equals 10, I'm trying to isolate my variable. So that plus 4, I need to